Hello, everyone. My name is Megha, and I am an advertiser. And I'm here to tell you, so are you, all of you. I also know that right now, not one of you believes me. So we're going to start this talk with a game. I'm going to show you 3 examples, and you will tell me whether you can spot the similarities between what I do and what you do. So, ready? Let's start. This is a billboard, and this is Seth Phillips, or as you may know him, the dude with a sign. Now, this non advertiser has probably racked up more eyeballs than any billboard in Times Square. This is a tagline, and this is a Tinder bio. If any of you have written a bio, congratulations. You have somewhat written a tagline for yourself. This is a CTA, or what we call a call to action. Now compare this to something that you hear almost every single day. Like, share, and follow. It's the same tools with the same rules. You see, people think that advertising is just about selling. It's not. Every day, we advertise little versions of ourselves to be chosen, to be trusted, to belong. Knowingly or unknowingly, we're all advertisers. Now, the big mistake is not understanding its importance. Our influence is not random. BJ Fogg, who is the founder of Stanford's Persuasive Technology Lab, calls the mobile phone the most powerful channel for persuasion ever created. And it's not just the geographic reach of the mobile phone, but also the platforms it gives us wide access to. Platforms that are designed to keep us scrolling, that nudge us with notifications, and feed us just enough to keep us hooked. They're not neutral. Do you remember Facebook's early promise? Facebook is free and will always be. But you and I know when the product is free, the product is you. Now, I know it must feel overwhelming at times to think that we are being poked and prodded and persuaded by forces far greater than us. But here's the hopeful part. Persuasion isn't new. Advertising has been there and done that. And now that the baton of influence is in your hands, I want to give you 5 lessons from advertising that will help you be heard without losing yourself, spark change without adding to the noise, and use your voice in ways that matter. So, ready?
Yes.
Sharpen your pencils, because here comes lesson number 1 from advertising's playbook. Tell the whole story, because what you choose to make popular becomes popular culture. You know, advertising was, for decades, a very poor editor of culture. It chose whose faces get seen, whose bodies get praised, who sits at the head of the table, and who pours the coffee. Not understanding that when you tell us only a part of the story, you shape culture in ways that you may not have intended. But as the saying goes, when we know better, we do better. And we did. I want to give you one example where advertising reset a very lopsided culture. Do you remember beauty ads growing up? They all seem to tell us a single story: a flawless complexion, impossible proportions, and a very narrow idea of what makes us beautiful. But then, in 2004, came a campaign that reset beauty culture forever. Dove launched its Real Beauty campaign and showed us real women of all ages and ethnicities, of all shapes and sizes, and threw open the doors to a more authentic, a more inclusive, and a fuller story of what real beauty is. So today, when you see fabulous women like Winnie Harlow or Ashley Graham on the covers of Vogue, know this: it is because someone had the courage to tell the whole story. What we show or not show edits culture. Now, you hold the edit button. When you and 5 billion others share only happy moments of motherhood and none of the struggle, you edit for future generation what motherhood looks like. When you share only wins from your startup and none of the strife, you edit what success looks like. So the next time you choose what to share, don't just give us the highlight reel. Don't crop out the struggle. Tell us the whole story. Because when you share your story, you make space for others to share theirs too. Okay, now moving on. This is advertising lesson number 2, coming in hot. Choose value over virality. Because trends change. The truth, not so much. You know, this is a tricky one. I once had a client who started the meeting by saying, I want a viral campaign. In advertising, that's like saying, I want to win the lottery and calling it a strategy. Virality is not a strategy. It's a seduction because the algorithm rewards what makes us react, not what makes us reflect. And in my experience, the best brands have learned to resist this temptation. Let me give you an example. Everyone in Kenya knows Arimis. And for those who don't, Arimis is a milking jelly, like for cows. But the product was so good that Kenyan women used it for almost everything: face, hands, lips, hair. And the funny thing is that Arimis never changed its product or its packaging. It didn't even position itself as a cosmetic product. People got creative on its behalf. And now, no matter what trending lip oil, lip jelly come and go, Arimis remains one of the most loved brands by Kenyan women. So the lesson here is staggeringly simple. Be like Arimis. No, really. If you have a business, make a valuable product. If you are a content creator, give us a valuable point of view. Because in this connected world that we live in, value will oftentimes find its own virality. Okay, for those taking notes, here is lesson number 3. Don't say it louder, say it sharper. Because in a very noisy world, brevity is the soul of clarity. A lot of us among here are on social media to further the causes that we are passionate about. However, when causes meet clutter, impact takes a hit. Advertisers have learned this very early, that people are busy, hence causes must be sticky. So we have developed what I call the advertising shrink ray, the art of distilling a mouthful into a movement. Does anybody here want to see the shrink ray in action? Okay, let's see 3 quick examples. We must take immediate and sustainable action to reduce the global impact of climate change on future generations. Or, as you may remember it as, there is no planet B. to end the stigma around menstruation and turning a period stain from a mark of shame into a symbol of normalcy and pride. Or shorter and much more impactful, #stain, not shame. A call to end systemic racism and selective police brutality and affirm the worth of Black lives. Or, as you may have seen it severally as, Black Lives Matter. What brevity does is it makes the cause instantly relatable and something that people can engage with. Put it on a t-shirt, on a placard, in a hashtag. So the next time you think that the world is too noisy and nothing that you say will ever be heard, use advertising's shrink ray. Don't say it louder, say it sharper. Because on social media, justice needs framing and truth too needs a tagline. Towards the tail end now, this is lesson number 4. Earn trust. Don't borrow it. Because when it comes to trust, shortcuts don't work. Not very long ago, really not very long ago, advertisers were called spin doctors, experts in borrowing the spotlight from others and sticking their brands under it. Well, shock on us when we realize that trust isn't a logo you can slap on or a hashtag you can hijack. And when brands forget this, disaster ensues. Take Pepsi's Kendall Jenner ad of 2017. This is how the ad went. They staged a protest where handing an icy cold Pepsi to a policeman magically solved police brutality. Well, it backfired big time. People call the ad tone deaf because Pepsi had no actual history with the cause. It was just trying to borrow its cultural power. Now compare this with Nike in 2018, just a year later, when they put Colin Kaepernick, the NFL quarterback who took a knee to protest police brutality and lost his career for it, and put him in the center of their campaign with the line, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything." For Nike, it wasn't a stunt. For decades, they have championed athletes who pushed against the grain, from Serena Williams to Muhammad Ali. So when they backed Kaepernick, their stance felt earned, not opportunistic. It happens all the time in real life. Take LinkedIn, for example. You can repost every Harvard Business Review article or every smart TED Talk there is, but what people want to hear is your voice, not just the brilliance of those you stand next to. So here's the takeaway. Trust isn't transferable, but it can be earned by showing up consistently and honestly, by being credible, not just visible. Now we have come to our last lesson, and my personal favorite, lesson number 5. Be clear about your product, because sometimes what you make can be different from what you sell. I know it sounds confusing, but stay with me. Charles Revson, the founder of Revlon, was once asked, "What are you in the business of?" To which he very famously replied, "In the factory, we make cosmetics. In the store, we sell hope." Now, this is the deeper truth that advertising has uncovered, that not everything you produce is what people experience. And there are very many examples of it. Jeep makes cars, sells adventure. Coca-Cola makes a black sugary drink, sells happiness. Louis Vuitton makes bags and sells status. It's true of real people as well. When Trevor Noah makes a joke, he sells us perspective. Another comic can make a joke and sell us bigotry. And so here is what the lesson is. On social media, every interaction is a transaction. What you make is reels, stories, hashtag. But what are you selling? Hate or humanity? Cynicism or courage? Division or dialogue? Remember, your content is what you make. Your influence is what you sell. At its core, this talk has been about one thing: the power you wield today. We are all advertisers because that big megaphone that up until now only billion-dollar brands could afford is in your hands now. Which is why it helps to re-look at the word advertising, to understand what it was always meant to do. Advertising comes from two Latin words, ad and vertere, which literally means to turn towards. With the rise of platforms, the question is not if, but when the world inevitably turns towards you, what would you have taught it to see? And what future would you be selling? And when silence is no longer an option, I hope these 5 lessons from advertising will guide your way. Thank you very much.